Hello and welcome to Spoonful of Simplicity English. We are going to learn a Punjabi savory today, which is kulcha bread, and not just any, it's made of suji or rava. Let's begin making it. We need some warm water. I've taken 1 cup of warm water here and I've added 2 tablespoons of sugar. Doing a finger test, we want to make sure the water is not too warm, and then we're going to add 1 tablespoon of yeast powder to this and mix this well. Once we've done that, we need to put this aside for the yeast to bloom for a little bit, and we'll move on to the next step, that is preparing our flour. Since we are making it with suji, I've grounded the suji in a mixie and I've taken 1 kg of suji there. I've added 100 grams of maida and 2 teaspoons of salt. Now for this recipe, we need to prepare ourselves to knead the dough really well. Now I am using my stand mixer with a dough hook, but if you don't have this, you could even use a hand mixer with the dough attachment. But if you don't have either of these and you decide to do it by hand, please be prepared to keep kneading this dough for somewhere around 10 minutes or so. Anyway, after mixing the dry ingredients, I've added half a cup of curd and 1/4 cup of refined oil to this mixture, and we are going to again mix these together. This is very much similar to making puris or the samosa flour if you're familiar with doing that, but if not, then too, all we need to do is to make sure all of this is mixed really well before we move on to adding the yeast, bloomed yeast. Because it was only 2-3 minutes till we reached this step. The yeast had only started to bloom, but if you have used a good yeast, you shouldn't have to worry. It will do its job even after it's been kneaded, and this will keep on blooming the dough, which is what we want. One thing that we want to remember is that this dough needs to be very loose. That is, it needs to have a lot of water in this, because suji would soak in a lot of water and get bigger in size. So please make sure you are generous with using water, and I would recommend using warm water as opposed to plain water for this kneading. Keep kneading this mixture for about 10 to 15 minutes by hand if you're doing that, and in my stand mixer I kneaded it for about 7 to 8 minutes. After it's done, we need to move on to the next step, which is something that I'm going to do by hand. So let's see. Now I'm going to add some more oil or butter to this mixture. I decided to use butter, the normal salted butter, and I've used somewhere around 10 to 15 grams of that. I just need to make it a little greasy, this flour. So I'm doing it by hand, and it doesn't need to have been kneaded overly well. So just a little bit of kneading should be enough, and then we are going to put it out to rest to double in size. So I'm using another bigger vessel for that, and even before transferring this dough, I have oiled the sides well, and now I'm transferring the dough here. What you need to do is to make sure your dough is oiled well, and you need to turn it around from on the inside like I'm doing here before you set it to rest. Now we need to cover this, and I am using a cellophane wrapper here, but if you don't have that with you, you can even make use of some cloth that you may have. Just make sure it is covered completely, that's it. Now you need to leave it to rest for around 1 to 2 hours, or till it rises to double its size. If you're living in a cold place, then I recommend that you leave this to rise up near a heater or a gas stove or something. After it's doubled in size like this one, we need to move on to the next step, that is prepare for the baking. I am using a tray here with parchment paper. I've lined it with parchment paper. Then I need a cooling rack, which is where my kulchas will sit. after they come out of the oven. I've used some plain flour and some onion seeds to garnish it. You can even use a little coriander if you wish, and then I need a rolling pin. Alright, so I'm going to take small balls of it, somewhere around 10 to 15 or 20 grams. It entirely depends on how big you want to make them. There's no hard and fast rule for this, but what I did is I just punctured the dough a little and then lightly just kneaded it, and now I've taken a small portion of the dough. I'm going to roll it next, and the way I want to roll it is to add some onion seeds. And if you think that your dough is a little moist and it is difficult to handle, at this stage you can make use of little plain flour that we had set aside, dry plain flour. But in case of my dough, I was okay with using it, so I have not used any plain flour. So we roll it like a roti, or just roll it like a pizza base or a roti, and then we need to puncture it with some fork or a sharp knife. And the last step is a little milk wash. After this, all we need to do is put this to bake. And I at one time I'm able to put two of those in my on my baking tray. So let me put two of these here. And now we're going to bake this in a preheated oven at around 200 or 220 degrees centigrade for around 5 to 10 minutes. And that should prepare your kulchas. Once they're out, brush them with a little butter, and they're ready to devour. This is the time for you to hit the like button if you like my video, and to share it with your friends and family who will benefit from this recipe. If you haven't subscribed my channel till now, please do consider subscribing, and do let me know in comment section how did these turn out for you. I shall see you soon in another interesting recipe. Take care till then. Bye bye from me for now.